All good?
Thanks for welcoming, and thanks Mark for coming to join us today.
Pleasure.
All the way from UK to do this Water Scaper line tank, sponsored by Water. And we got lots of, what you call it? Yeah, giveaways and raffle tickets for the event. And we have, he's going to do hardscape and planting and everything, and it's going to be, yeah.
Huge thanks to Jason and Yana for having us here. I really do appreciate you inviting us. Flattered, so thank you very much. So, my name's Mark. Geordie Scaper on YouTube, Instagram. If you follow us on social media, if you don't, please do. I've been aquascaping plant aquariums since about 2007, 2008, and I've just got more interested, decided to turn me hobby into a career, so hence the aquascaping. So all I'm going to do today, I'm going to create an aquascape from scratch in these stunning tanks. This is the Waza Scaper line 100, I think.
Yes.
So dimension wise, you've got 100 centimetre length, which is quite unusual for a scaper tank, usually generally 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot. So it's really good size. It's 50 high and 50 from front to back, and that's in centimetres. The good thing about that is you've got loads of space to create something, because sometimes it's a bit limited if you've just got small tanks, but there's no harm in that as well. So I'm going to do my best to create the best scape I can for the shop and for you guys, and feel free to ask any questions going through. Feel free to take photographs. Get me good side, not that side, that side, right? So yeah, take photographs as much as you want. And a big thanks to the sponsors, like I say, that provided some gifts. And I'm also a brand ambassador for Seachem, so I've got some Seachem goodies for you. And a lot of the products I use is Seachem. I will say, I am sponsored by Seachem, but I do believe in the products. I've used them for years and years, way before I worked with Seachem. And the work, you get really good results, and that's a promise. I'm not just saying that for camera, right? Seachem. So yeah, no, they're generally really good products. So I'll be talking a lot about Seachem products, and that's why. So yeah, sponsors, we've got Green Aqua, which is a store. Anyone heard of Green Aqua? Big store in Hungary, Budapest. I've been, brilliant. Great guys as well. Not very good aquascapers. That is a joke, because they're great aquascapers. Seachem, Waza, who supply the tanks, filtration, you'll be using Waza filtration, is that right? And plant supplier, pronunciation, Jan Paul?
Yeah.
I'm Norwegian already.
Yeah.
And never heard of that one.
It's Imasu.
Imasu?
Yeah.
So what's the...
They're supplying with brands like Cetra and
Alright, so
Google.
So obviously huge thanks to all the sponsors for this event, for making it possible. Okay, so first up, what we're going to do is known as the hardscape. So we're going to create with the stone, the wood and the substrate. So in this case I'll be using a decorative sand substrate and soil. We always use like aquarium soil. People think if you're just getting in there, you think it's strange putting soil in a tank, but these are made, this isn't aquatic soil, so it's made for aquatic plants. And the good quality soils, this is Microsorum by Seachem, but there's loads of other good quality soils. They don't deteriorate in the tank, they don't mess your tank up, make them all dirty, so really good quality soil is important. Usually you can get long term, these will go a year, 18 months, keep your tank going. You can replenish them with root tabs. So you've got Seachem root tabs, as other different companies do, different types of fertilisation, so you can always replenish. But I would highly recommend, if you're going to have a plant aquarium, rather than just the gravel, which is no harm again, you can use flourish tabs, I would use the soil, but be slow. Okay, so I'm just going to add some soil. You don't need to wash the soil, some you do, but that's a good thing with these. These soils are just good, full of good nutrition for the plants, especially for your heavy root feeders. Some plants that really feed from the root column, so obviously it's good to have this. So put your soil in, get stuck in, and what I'm aiming for here, I mentioned earlier, I'm going to have like a beachfront with decorative sand, so all the soil is going to be at the back for the majority of stem plants which you'll be using. So thanks. Really handy tool if you haven't got one, honestly, really good. Especially more so once you've got your stones in there for getting things between the nooks and crannies. So, when I first used these, everyone used to laugh. Now everyone uses them.
What's your opinion on the tropical soils?
It's fine, really good. Yeah. To be honest, I think they're much of the same for most of the soils. If you go with, do you know, likes of ADA, really good soils, but you've got to be careful of them because they leach out lots and lots of ammonia in the early stages. So that's where
The tropical as well?
It does a little bit, not as much as ADA, but tropicals, yeah, it's fine. I reuse my soils a lot as a base substrate, so if I was breaking a tank down, I would use the old soil as a base layer. It's full of good nutrients and beneficial bacteria, so it's good for that. But cheap soils, dirty, break down easy, but some people swear by them. Cost is always a big thing when you're setting an aquarium. Yes, it's expensive, but the way I look at it, it's like any hobby you do, whether you play golf, football, sports, horse riding, anything. It starts off cheap, but the more you get into that hobby, it gets more expensive. So it's like anything really. I'm going to put quite a bit of soil in to get some height. And that's the thing, some people are a bit weary about piling the soil too high, but you go really high with these types of soils. Sometimes, because the soil's more expensive, you can use a cheaper substrate underneath, or some porous stone like the lava rock and stuff like crushed lava rock. You can build it with that, but you can pile as high as you like, about 10 centimetres at the back, and if you were doing a full soil, about 4 to 5 centimetres at the front, so you get a nice slope. The reason you do the slope, it's a good, you get a good perception of depth. The tank looks deeper than what it actually is. You can also do aquariums without any soil. Have you guys heard of epiphytic plants? Epiphytes? Where they're all attached to wood and stone, so you can glue them on, tie them on, wedge them in little crevices. You don't have to have any soil because their roots and rhizomes, and the roots feed off the water column. It's actually, for most plants, it's detrimental to plants actually plant them, so you keep them in the water column. So you can do really nice aquascapes by doing that by itself without any soil. It's cheaper and it's easier for people. So that is around about 8 centimetres, 10ish in the middle. So it's good depth. Yeah, I'm using large stones. The idea I had for high impact aquascape, but what I am doing here, you can use smaller stones and do something equivalent. It doesn't have to be these size stones. Right. So when you look at your stone, you try and find the best detail. I love rock and stone, and people think I'm weird, but I say stones and you just look at the details, so you want to show off the best part of that stone if you can, if that makes sense. If you've got a flat side that's just smooth and flat compared to... So be careful.
Hold your breath.
There you go. Once it's in, it's fine. Don't worry. I hope it's not upside down.
No flipper.
Can't remember. Do you see what I mean about the details? That's the most detail. This stone is it called black rhino?
Wild rhino.
Wild rhino stone, yeah. So I chose this because I like how dark it looks with the contrast with the green plants. So I'm not gonna.
At what point do you use like an egg crate beneath, like with big stones?
Yeah, if it's really big and you're gonna be.
Isn't that very big?
Yeah, but I put soil underneath, so it's not too bad. I was gonna just put them on the bottom, and I probably would have used egg crate then. Do you know what egg crate is? They're just the grill. So if you're worried about the bottom of the tank, yeah, use that. So I've just put the soil on just to cushion it a bit. And although it's a large stone, I'm only using a few of them, which is a good job because I want to be able to breathe. Right, that's the heaviest one done.
Yeah. So you want to take the other one? Or?
Oh, that's fine, this one. Easy, this one.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
What you want to avoid when you're using your hardscape is putting things bang in the middle. As humans, you've got to resist the urge to put everything bang in the middle. But it's not very pleasing to the eye once you set your tank up. So everything just off centre. Everyone heard the rule of thirds in photography, the golden ratio? It's that sort of thing. So centre your tank, always put your main stone, main piece of wood, either side of that. Don't have to measure anything. I used to though. Yeah, so we'll see there. So eventually we may have a path going through and I don't want that bang in the middle. So I'll be wary of that as I go. Right. Ignore sometimes I've just had to check the scape and stuff, okay? This one, I want more height. Easy way of doing that is just using small stones. So we can get it safely. So that way up.
Back?
That's it, yeah.
Should I do that? Should I do that?
Johnny's will probably alright now.
Okay.
Start adding that. You can start pouring that and just doing the things if you want. Instant damp, isn't that good?
Yeah.
Just turn it in more.
Really good stuff.
More.
Just trickle it down there, please. That's it. That coming through. That's it.
More.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Taking shape? Looking a bit better? Because it'll compact over time and starts causing trouble underneath the substrate, start leaching harmful things to your fish, so don't have it too thick with it or sand. Gravel's not too bad, you can have that thick if you're using like a higher grade gravel. Wood. This is manzanita wood. This comes from America, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think the only place you can get this is the States. It is one of the more expensive woods, but it's really, really popular within the aquascaping game. I think you can see why it's really natural. What I've done earlier, I've just used, this is called wood tie from ADA. I've just attached a smaller bit. I've done that earlier, when I prepared earlier. And later on we will attach this to the stone by glue. We'll attach it with glue so it's not going to float when we fill. What I want you as much height as I can get. And you'll find when you're using wood as well, I mean, I already planned this, but I kind of mess with the wood till it like sits naturally. You'll find when you're messing with it, it kind of sits. It kind of sits where it should be. I want to learn English when I get home. So that's the most natural sitting position when I was messing on in the dojo to get it right. And again, just attach a bit more. And you can probably see it's just totally transformed the scape. Finished? See you there. So the reason I attached these, when I put them on, it looked okay, but I didn't like the clean face of the rock, so I just added that little extra bit. And once it blends in with the plants and stuff, you'll never know it was attached, basically. So I don't like to use too many false materials, keep it as natural as possible, but it's easier to create with smaller pieces rather than relying on, if you've got one big piece of wood and you're limited to what you can do. So that's why I've done that. Does the height look alright? It's alright, isn't it?
And you glue this to the stone?
Yeah, you just, there's different ways you can do it. I use usually when I'm doing things like this, I use an epoxy from Seachem. But I'm not using it today because it stinks. But it's like a little epoxy. Now we'll just put a bit at about 3 points between the stone and rock, and then it's going to hold it there in place.
Okay.
And you can see you try and disguise it with
So it's just a little bit to keep it in place?
yeah, basically, yeah. Or the glue, what the trick to use with glue is like, you can use like tissue paper, and you just, so you would add that there, and just put a load of glue on it, and that'll hold it in place. You can sprinkle materials on it, like sand, soil, or there's other materials people use. You can sprinkle on it to disguise it a bit more. Or if you know, you can cover it with a plant. Do you know what we're talking about, epiphytes? So I would use it with an epiphyte plant, just put that over that. Does that make sense? So I'll do that soon once I'm decided exactly where it's going to go. We'll put the glue on. Bit detail to do, then it's going to have a break. At home, I'm really OCD. This would take us about 8 hours. Little tweaks, but obviously a workshop you can't. See what I mean? Before I was saying where it naturally sits, I'm trying to fight that and it's not working. So I might as well just let it where it sits. And that seems to be where it wants to be. Does that make sense? Have you ever tried it when you're hardscaping? You're trying to force something, but it's always sitting. So something telling you, right, just leave it there. What do you think so far? Okay? Yep. I'm going to detail now. So it's the same type of back aisle from Denley, so that's what it looks like. It comes in the big bags. And this is a smaller version, so we're just going to finish off with some details. Okay. And I may add some more stones here and there. Don't try and let it spill onto the stone, spill where it would go naturally. I wouldn't like see how it's just going where it should. Not on the stone though. I think I'm happy with that. If you guys want to have a break, have a drink, have a smoke, I'm just going to neaten things up a bit, and when we come back, we'll start the planting. Okay with you?
Yes.
Thank you very much. See you in 2 minutes. Me and Jason would be in just attaching the wood to the stone to obviously make sure it doesn't float and it stays in place. I'm using this stuff which I've never used before. What do we call it?
It's a river rest covering rocks, the glue on the rocks and on wood and so on.
Yeah.
There's different stuff in the box.
Right, which is
Yeah, that one.
Aquascape is set. All you need to make escape hasn't got stones in.
The grey stuff
Yeah.
in your hand is for stone and all the other is for tree and wood.
Right, yeah, so this grey powder, you sprinkle it on to with a joint, so say for example we'll be doing this. So we sprinkle some of that on, you add some, the thin type glue, not the gel type, and this runs on and it reacts and it seals the wood to the stone. So you were saying the grey type for stone, and there's a brownish type for just attaching all your woods together.
So it's basically an activator.
Yeah, it's an activator kit. If you want one, these are them. I've never used them before, so Jason was just telling us about them. So, I'll show you guys how it works. It smokes as well, it looks cool. So the join way I want, I'm going to get a little bit on the bottom, sprinkle that on, shove it in. And then the glue might run, you've got to be careful of that. So, this is why I've done the break, it's fiddly, but I thought I'd show you. So I'm just going to use that to stop the glue running down, hopefully. Get in there. I don't like doing this. Yeah. Right. So can you all see that from my hand? No?
Yes.
I'll just run that in.
Oops.
Whoop. See it smoking? That didn't work.
Aquasmoke.
Burn. Yep. I'm high as a kite. Right, I'll come off, you alright?
Move the rocks.
Yeah, so that's how that works. So now, I'll wait a second though. Should be nice and tight. Bits we've done earlier. See that? Solid. And now that's solid.
It's not finished.
Where's it not?
That's still smoking.
Oh, that's still smoking, so it's nearly done. I've also added a few stones in the meantime as well. It's just some bits I thought looked a bit unfinished, and I didn't want to use just plants in that place, so I just positioned yard stone. But once I've planted in between those gaps, it'll take the harshness of the stone off, and you'll see just little bits of the stone as it grows in. So, hardscape done. Happy with that?
Very nice.
Let's plant. All prepared, because if I didn't, it would have been here for ages. So, anyone not used plants before and they're not sure how to prepare them, take them out, what you should keep and what you shouldn't? Anyone? Everyone use plants and happy with how to prepare them? Get rid of the rock wool, you don't leave the rock wool on? Yeah? That saves me showing you, good. So all these are done. I'm gonna do all the ferns first, because the reason I do that, the ferns is all, it's gonna be like a canopy of plants, so like creeping over, and that shows where the shade is, and the plants that can tolerate shade, I'll put near those, so, and you'll get instant impact as well. But first thing I'm gonna do is just soak the whole aquascape with this.
Could have done.
Oh, I forgot. Just soak the whole thing. If you haven't got one of these, really handy. Get yourself one of these, it's better than and you'll see what the stone look like underwater as well. Nice dark stone. Question time. What do you call plants that attach to wood and stone? At the fight, done it again. You know. Share them out. If you just take some and pass them on if you want some, might as well get a little treat. At home as well, it's worth preparing all your plants so it's just ready to go. And it's okay to do this, so once it's on a tray or something similar, just give them a right good soak and cover them in cling wrap, or like paper towels, you can just rest on top and soak that and they'll be fine even the day before. What I usually do is I do my hardscape, leave that, and then I plant. By the time I finish planting, I can't be bothered, so I just soak and put cling film on top of the next day and I fill it, because I'm lazy. So this is Microsorum, or a type of jar fern. Back home in the UK we call this narrow leaf, I think it is. I'm not sure what you call it here.
Yeah.
Narrow leaf fern. So with a little tip with this one, when people use this plant, it goes like a dirty colour if you just leave it. So during maintenance, if you just get your hands amongst it and get all the dead leaves out, and any leaves you see that are looking unhealthy stuff have got holes in, dark brown in colour, what you do is just go right to the base of the plant, nip it away with your fingers or snip it away with some sharp scissors away from the rhizome. And what you're doing there, instead of the plant put the energy into recovery and trying to get itself better, the plant's going to put the energy into new growth. And new growth in these plants, you'll notice a new growth because on the tips of the leaves, it's easier to see in the water. The tips of the leaves go like a dark green, and that's new healthy leaves. So they're the ones to leave on and get rid of old growth. The more you do that over time, you'll get nice, lush, healthy ferns. Instead of some you see they look horrible, they're just brown and they start to get holy. Everybody does that with ferns. That's a key. As soon as you say crap, nip them away, basically. Okay? But they're great for like instant impact, trident ferns. So what I want to do here is like some sort of canopy as I go along, because I've got loads to use. What I'm going to do is wedge in where I can. If I can't, I'll use some glue. It's nice seeing a bit green, isn't it? So these plants grow on what you call a rhizome. So that's kind of where the root structures come off. And imagine they're just floating in the water column to get all the nutrients from the water itself. So that's where your liquid ferns come in, are important. Even when you plant, if you see dodgy leaves, just pull them away. Dodgy, bad leaves. So when you use this plant, it's really popular. I love it. See what I mean? Whenever you do maintenance, that'll be lying in between it. She just gets stuck in. Because it can, this plant can look really ugly, but if you look at it, fresh green leaves, it looks lovely. This glue is Seachem Flourish glue, and it's great for attaching the plants to the wooden stone. It's more of a gel type, so it doesn't run. And it's safe for the fish.
Cyanoacrylates.
That's the one. I didn't say it because I can't say it. Yeah, what you've seen there, any glue that contains...
Cyanoacrylate.
That's the one. Anything that contains that's safe to use in water. So even like your Gorilla glues and stuff, but I always go with, obviously, support your aquatic stores and get the proper glue that's used for fish tanks. Don't go on Amazon and get Gorilla glue. Everyone says that to me. Gorilla glue is the same. I said, doesn't support your aqua store, does it?
The Gorilla Glue bottles are also just half full.
Yeah.
So,
You get the fancy ones with the clicky thing on the side and that. So. So I've come to a point where there's not many crevices. Usually if you use big bits of wood, like thicker wood, there's more bits to put your wood and attach to it. With this just being like branchy, it's a bit different. So we'll just glue some parts. When you're putting glue on, just try and keep it on the rhizome. You don't need loads on, or the wood itself. I had in mind when I was going to put this and I forgot. Oh yeah. So, a little bit of glue. Use the rhizome. Hold it. 12, 5, 10, 15, 30, an hour.
Okay. Breakfast tomorrow?
Didn't take long. Didn't take long. There you go. anybody want to go? Don't all rush. Anyone have a go? Bit gelling and planting? Fair dues. I'll do it. Your best wearing gloves, like, because this stuff's a nightmare. Get on your fingers.
I glued my fingers stuck to the hardscape once, together with the plant.
Really hard to work the next day. Hello. Like a scarecrow. See, now you can see where it's going to branch over in time. It's going to get thicker and longer leaves. So we need know where to put the shade loving plants now. Anubias is a classic for that. It's one of my favourite plants, Anubias petit. I'll be using it soon. But it's prone to algae, especially if it's in the light. So if you shade it a bit, it does a lot better. I want to try and use the ferns mainly on the wood and the Anubias, which I've just been talking about, on the stone. Sometimes I forget where you've glued. Do you know where I put the glue? I'll probably add more later, but I'm going to put a bit of Anubias on now as well. So I've got two types here. One's Anubias Bonsai, which is one of the smallest ones, if not the smallest. Tiny little leaves, so it's nice to put in little clusters. And then you've got Anubias petit, which is my all-round favourite plant. Absolutely love these, use them all the time. But like I say, they can be prone to algae on the leaves. Again, same as any other plant. If you see holes in the leaves, looking a bit bad or dodgy, just snip that away. Nice sharp scissors and it'll be fine. And what I want to put these, this is the bigger one, so I want to put these as a bit of a focal point. So, love it. See, a lovely plant. So I'm looking where the light is. If you imagine your light in the middle, we can see how much light that's going to get. So once that grows, it'll cover it, so it's nice and shaded. But if you keep that trimmed to the way you want it, you'll still see it. But direct light, I would never, don't put that in direct light. And again, this has got a rhizome where the plants grow off and the roots. So you don't want to bury that in the soil. And gravel will be fine, just not too deep. Does anyone watch the AD videos? Takashi Amano, the old Takashi Amano stuff. Basically, he's got his students, his apprentices, and he doesn't even look at them. He just gets his plants. Yeah. It's like Japanese with his apprentices. So, he doesn't ask or he doesn't say please or thank you. And if they're not there, he's like, you can see the anger in his face. So come on, Jason. You do that for me. Yeah?
Do you want more plants?
Yeah, that's fine, man. I mentioned trimming roots before. I don't know how true it is, but I read somewhere and I stopped doing it because Anubias is a plant that doesn't particularly like its roots trimmed, although Bucephlandra does. So I tend not to do it. I don't know where I read it, so it may be totally not right, but if I read it, it must be true.
Yeah.
I like to put these in little clusters as well, rather than just dotted all over the shop. I like just having like little clusters of them. Might look a bit odd, but in the wild, that's what they grow on, stone and wood. Well, it's important as well with these. These are prone to dry out quicker as well, especially with the hot light. So we'll give them a good soak.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
use that for that.
Yeah.
Again, I keep mentioning Takashi Manu. You think I was friends with him? Never met him. But when I don't know if you've seen his home tank. Anybody? He's got a tank. Well, he had a tank at home, and it's been through loads of earthquakes. It's huge, full of ultim angels, massive ferns. It's just stunning, and that's like my dream aquarium.
That's 8 meters long, isn't it?
It's 8 meters, yeah.
I think it is 8 meters.
If you check it out, it's just Takashi Manu home aquarium. You'll see it. Oh, check it out if you want. I won't think you're rude. No, you can't, honest. But it's worth checking out. I just wet it in, to be honest. Nah.
Well, your dream tank kind of sounds like the one that Geordie made in Germany.
Yeah.
The one with MJ Aquascaping put out today.
Quite similar, that, yeah. I would love that.
Big ultim angels.
Yeah.
I think the tank was like 3 meters long.
Had to be a millionaire, the client. Had to be.
And 120 high.
Yeah, it was stunning. That's another tank worth checking out. Yui's a German aquascaper. He has actually worked with Takashi Manu. I'll shut up about Takashi Manu. He's the godfather of aquascaping, basically, so. Again, there's the. Are you finished with that?
Yeah.
It's too late now, I need to put these in.
I'll eat it afterwards.
Yeah. Good job. Monte Carlo. Everyone Monte Carlo plants, like a small leaf plant. I don't know how he done it, but he done it. Just single leaves, the whole aquarium with one pot. And it grew amazing. But tedious. Oh, I couldn't do that. But it just goes to show how many portions actually get out of a little pot. So it does go a long way. It is better to split them into portions and give them some room to grow, like you say.
Yeah.
It's just, the more you do spread them out, which you can, will eventually take, where you're just waiting longer for that immediate impact, and that's when you'll get, like, when you see stem plants, you'll get the leggy look. So they're
Yeah.
all leggy on the bottom. So I'll talk more about trimming and trimming techniques later down the line. I think 2 seconds. What I'm going to do for my brightest red plant, I'm going to use that as a focal plant. Focal plant. Time for a beer. Yeah, so the strongest red plant which I've got, it's called Rotala macranda. I'm going to use that as the brightest, and it's got a nice leaf shape, so that's going to be the focal red, and that's going to go just off centre around about here. So I'll plant that first.
Ah, there are not here. They are.
It's here.
Oh, there it was.
Oh no. Yeah, that isn't it?
Yeah, it's in vitro. So.
It was in vitro, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Don't even know me plants. But yeah. You see what I mean? They're not very impressive, are they, in vitro? But it's amazing how that grows. I'll try and show you some photographs when we're chatting later on of some I used. Lovely plant. Bring this forward for this. I'll try and plant from mine as much as I can. Planting, anyone can have a go if you want. If you've never planted using pin sets before or tweezers, you're welcome. Just come and have a go. Don't be shy. And it's what it's all about. Getting involved, helping me.
Norwegians are very shy. You just have to point to someone.
I'm shy, believe it or not. Yeah, okay, now I'll ask again. This one, like we're saying, Rotala macranda. So, centre of the tank, I want to take it just off centre, around about here. Yeah, does that look good? One. I'll do it as quick as I can. Chat amongst yourselves or come and have a look if you want. You can come in pairs if you want to have a look at planting, anything you want. I don't want you sitting there bored.
You want to reach up on the lights.
Right, I'll start planting quick, right, as quick as I can.
What kind of backgrounds do you usually go for in your aquariums?
The frosted background.
Like this one?
Yeah, any frosted background. I like white and pales and frosted. Black gives a whole different look to your tank. one thing I don't like about black, it's great because your likes your cardinals, your neon tetras look great with a black background. But the downside is if you inject CO2, you see all the bubbles all the time and it gets on your nerves. Do you know the little mist, the CO2 mist? And I think I just like the impression of a light background. And another good thing, what I do is, do you know the little cheap LED strips? You just stick on. I stick them on the back of the cabinet and they uplight the back, cheap version. If you want a light screen, if you're a millionaire, get one of those because they cost you a fortune. But yeah, this is the ADA.
Yeah.
Frosted white, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the ADA ones are really good quality and they're easier to put on. The cheaper ones, still okay, but a bit more of a faff on. But once you get one, you can take them off and reuse them. Just give everything a right good soak when you put them on. And I just like using a blade, not in a holder, just the blade, and just cut them sharp and it's fine. And the best tool to use to get them out is like a credit card. Just scrape the bubbles out and they're quite easy to put on. I used to hate them, but they're a lot better than they used to be now. The sticker ones, waste of time, I wouldn't bother. So I'm not going to name names, but don't bother with sticker types, they'll just fall off. Horrible.
Yep.
I've got a jewel at home, I'm going to Scape, and I put a black background on and I set it all up and I wasn't happy with it, so I've took it off and I've painted the back white, so you can actually paint them. Just using acrylic paint, you know the kids' acrylic paint? It's good as anything, and when you want rid, it just comes off with a razor, dead easy.
The best thing is to use oil-based paint.
Yes.
That doesn't scratch as easily.
That's the thing with the scratching the acrylic, but if it's up against the wall,
Yeah.
and well, it depends if you're messing with your filters all the time.
It sucks when you're putting your heater in and you're sliding the cable behind and you get this big scratch in the paint.
And that's annoying, yeah. It's happened once and I use that as an excuse to get rid of the tank. This one as well, when I set the light, I would set it so it's not centre, it'll be just off centre because the stems are going to need the most amount of light. The ferns don't need much, the Anubias, not too bad. So just bring that back because we've got a beachfront, so that's a good tip. You're not wasting light on the front and obviously you can cause algae problems on your sand. So take the light where your most demanding plants are for light, which tends to be stems. This one, I was saying before, it's got a lovely leaf shape and it goes a really bright red under good light. So the Chihiros, it should look gorgeous if it all grows in well. When it grows in well.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
Usually at the peak, aquariums, this type of aquarium usually peak around about 3-4 months. That's when they look the best. And after that period as well, they kind of look after themselves if you keep on top of your maintenance, cleaning the tank and the filters. You don't have to worry too much about them. The hard part is the early stages. Things are settling and that's when people lose the patience and give up too quick. I've done client scapes and they've been on the phone 3 days later, oh this has happened, and I'm like, you've got to be patient. And they stripped the tank after 2 weeks, spent all that money. I'm like, why did you do it? Well, they blame me. I was like, I just planted it.
Yep.
So we've got a nice bright red there. So in contrast, I'm going to plant a green plant there with another colour behind it. So you're not just doing the colours this way on, you're going to create some depth as well by doing the colours that way. So use your depth of your tank as well. So we've got Rotala rotundifolia. There's two types. You've got Rotala rotundifolia and you've got Rotala rotundifolia green. Totally different plants. So this is the Rotala rotundifolia, the standard one. And this one, at its peak when it gets the light, it goes a nice orangey reddish colour. It's a gorgeous plant, but it just looks totally different when you first get them. So the plant is at the back.
What's the difference in colour with Rotala HRR?
Rotala HRR. I'd say it's more the leaf form looks quite different, but HRR is a lot more red, and I would say that gets more of an orange tinge in it. And the good thing with it's quite low demand as well, the ruotundifolia. But HRR is a lovely plant. I do like that one. I'm trying to think as well that the plants with leaf shapes, it's not just the colours, so they've got a different texture. I'll never say texture in a plant. I don't know why I just did. Plants and texture. I do that, you know, do you know on video? Do you know when I'm doing YouTube videos? I'm talking, I'll say a word I've never said in my life. And I'm like, what?
What kind of fish do you keep at home?
At home I have
Malavis.
not Malawi. I'm mad tetragi. Who asked that question? Sorry. Yeah. Oh, I keep tetras mainly. I love them tetra fish. But at home at the minute, one tank I've got black neon tetras with what are they with again? Red phantom tetras. Another tank, I haven't got them yet, but I'm getting them soon, is the neon green rasboras. They're gorgeous, little tiny fish.
The Cryptocoryne.
Kubutai, yeah, they're beautiful fish. That's for Newagumi. I've got lamb chop rasboras, or what?
No. No. Lamb chop.
Lamb chop rasboras.
Harlequin. Some call them.
It's like a harlequin, but look different.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's the smaller one.
The smaller one.
Yeah,
Lamb chop rasboras.
yeah.
I can't think of the name.
Espy is called.
Espy, that's the Latin name.
Yeah.
Espy. Yeah, I've got those.
Lamb chop.
Lamb chop, eh, honestly? Lamb chop rasboras, because they've got like a black detail on them that looks like a lamb chop. Seriously? You'll all be googling it.
Lamb chopped fish.
Lamb chop rasbora. And in my next tank, which I can't wait, I'm doing the dual Rio, for some Leopoldi angelfish. And basically, I think it's the next best thing you get to an Ultim Angel, but they grow a lot smaller. So Ultim Angel's like 14 inches, if not bigger.
No, the max size is about 8-10 centimeters max size.
Of the Leopoldi.
Yeah, Leopoldi.
But the Ultims grow like...
Ultimate goes about, can go up to 40 centimeters.
Yeah, 40 centimetres. So the Leopoldis, which are the smaller ones, grow to about 3 inches, 10 centimetres. So I'm getting some of those special fish and I can't wait. So my next home project, which will be on YouTube, is that. So if you want to watch it and subscribe, hint, do so.
Yes, awesome channel.
Yeah, you find me, Geordie Scaper, on YouTube. It's all hints and tips, builds. I don't tend to do loads of reviews and boxing. I'm not really that way. It's more like tutorials. That's the type of stuff. So it's all in fast time as well. So the plans I can do in a second. Right, we'll go to the other stems. I don't know, I'll get them in. So there's 2 types of plants in so far.
3, 4.
No, I meant the stems.
Okay.
There's 2 types of stem plants in, sorry. Rotala ruotundifolia, which is an orangey reddish, and we've got Rotala macranda, which has got a bigger leaf, bright red. So next we're going to go to a green plant, which is underneath that tree, in that tray. That's ideal.
Film.
This one is called Myriophyllum. Myriophyllum. Matagranosia.
Yeah.
I'm hopeless with names. On my videos, I can't pronounce them, so I always just overlay the names of the plants. It's much easier.
With subtitles.
Otherwise, I'll just edit. Everything's an edit, there's too much swearing, so I don't bother. Yeah, so this is a lovely, it's more of a like bushy, fluffier type green plant, so it'll be an excellent contrast with the Rotala. So we'll plant that on the front, and you can keep this quite short as well. This is one, I keep saying that. This is in vitro again, so it's like small lab plants.
How high does it grow?
It can grow quite high actually. I think it's around about 30 centimetres. But you can just, I think most stems you can just keep them compact. Do you know with stem plants, if you trim them, do you know what I'm saying about them getting leggy on the bottom? To avoid that, even if you can't afford to get as many stems as you want, say, when you plant them, as soon as they get high, you can just cut them nice clean cut, and if you replant, it's going to cover the leggy bottom, but also every cut you do, you get 2 new shoots. So that's how you get the compact, bushy growth. A lot of people just let them go and they'll just get leggy. So if you want nice, you see some, especially Dutch aquariums, it's really compact growth. That's how we do it. Actually, Dutch aquariums, them take them out and replant. I can't really bother with that. So you just, like I say, snip them off and then replant the best cuttings, and it'll cover the leggy bits and keep it nice and compact. It's a good way. And remember them 2 new shoots, so you imagine the more trim. Don't be afraid, it's like a garden, don't be afraid to trim things, because the plant in the long run does better for it.
How did you get into YouTube?
I just wanted to do it. It was I wasn't working at the time and stuff, and I started doing videos just for fun, and I started to really enjoy it. I thought, oh, might do okay at this, and then once you get so far and you get nice comments off people and stuff, and people liking what you're watching, kind of gives you a shove to like do more. And I just sort of really enjoy it, and things have happened so fast. I mean, in 6 months I've been to America with Seachem, sponsors, here in Norway, I've been to Budapest, all in 6 months, and it's like, wow, everything's just gone mad. But it is hard work, it's not just YouTube, it takes time. If I do like a 5-minute video, it's took me a full day to do it, because I make that many mistakes and edit it and stuff, so, but it's worth it, like I say, for the lovely comments you get. Get the odd nasty one, but you just gotta let that go out of your head.
There's always trolls.
Trolls, yeah. Just ignore them.
Yeah.
Did you start during the pandemic with the YouTube?
Just before, but pandemic is when I really thought, yeah, let's make a go of it. And so did a lot of scapers. I mean, a lot of people have done a lot from home in the pandemic. Most reputable scapers you'll see, like MJ, MD, George Farmer, they just found that academic, they just went crazy on social media, and you thought, oh, it's a good way of going. You can really like get things out of people. For such a small country, it's like the north-south divide and all that, but everyone's great, and everyone just, there is a really good community aquascapers internationally. You find it on Instagram. I mean, I've got followers from Norway, Sweden, Canada, the US, and it just goes to show. And it's good to be, if you're not already doing it, he's a competitive aquascaper, and he's won numerous competitions. The biggest one's IAPLC, which is the International Aquatic Plant Layout Contest, and he's come first, second, thirds. He's amazing.
Did you enter the ILPC?
I've done it once. I come 470th.
I mean,
I was 3,000, so it's not that too bad.
That's good.
you were in the magazine then?
I'm in it. I haven't got the magazine yet, but I'm in it. Yeah, but I'll have to get it.
We have from 21 we have.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm in it.
Yeah?
Oh, not 20. 22 I'm in.
Ah, okay. It's not out yet.
Is it not?
No.
Well, I'll go wait till 22 come out.
Yeah.
But how long do you think people prepare for the ILPC?
Remember, I was probably for a year planning, no idea I have, but I was saying before about your scape usually picking out around about 4 months. So if you're going to grab a photograph of your tank, 4 months is usually a good time to do it, when your plants have matured, all the wood and stones aged, because you don't want to look them brand new.
So much work. I'm having.
It's stressful getting the photograph. I've never done a competition, but getting the photo, honestly, I nearly smashed my camera. I was like, it's just so stressful getting the right picture with reflections and stuff. I was like, oh. I'll still do one though. I'm not a competitive scaper though, I just like doing scapes natural and how I like them at home. This one's called
Pogostemon erectus.
Pogostemon erectus, yeah. That's why I laughed before I said it. Very mature. And this is going to go, so we've got green, we've got the orangey, this is green again, and then we've got the red colour. So this is going in between there. So we've got a good mix of colours. So let's plant the erectus.
Do you ever use moss in your aquascapes?
I do.
What's your favourite moss?
Wheatman.
Yeah.
Wheatman moss, yeah. I love moss, but I just hate trimming it. But sometimes it depends on your water conditions you like, because it doesn't weep. When I grew it went up.
Too much erectus in it.
Too much.
You do have the creeping moss, which is very similar to the weeping one, and it grows like straight upright.
Yeah.
But it's actually like kind of a problem to grow it, because the longer it grows, the more brown it becomes in the roots. And so
Yeah.
eventually it just lets go and suddenly it floats around.
It is. I've had that problem sometimes when you get a bit lazy with your tanks and the moss just grows and grows and it looks nice, it's really thick, and then just you get it one morning it's floating and you're like, ah. Macranda, isn't it? Macranda.
Yeah.
Dunno. You can never have enough plants. To be honest, I thought we were using the big stones I'd have less soil space, and there's a lot more than I thought when I looked. My fault.
Yeah, and I doubled the order actually.
I know you did. But I haven't used it that week. Right, I'll leave that for, we'll finish off with that, and I'll plant the middle part as well, because we've got crypts for that.
Yep.
And we've got the... I'm going to use two different types of crypts, or Cryptocoryne. This is, I forget which one I asked for. It's
Medici.
yeah, Willichi. It is, isn't it? Willichi? Is that what I asked
So you
for?
just an S, Willis. I don't know how to
It's
say
a crypt.
Yeah.
Crypts are heavy root feeders, so it's important that you've got good depth in your substrate, and a good nutritious substrate helps, but they do tolerate shade, so that's a good thing. So it's great for using in the little areas, like so.
More lights.
Yeah. Crypts as well, most people probably know, but they're prone to melt, so the leaves can melt off. But as long as they've got a healthy root stock, they'll recover and come back. So don't worry if they melt away, they will come back in time. Some people actually just cut them off and plant the root, but I don't like to do that. Sometimes it doesn't happen, sometimes okay.
What's wrong with that for you?
Oh, right.
I can actually walk.
How tall does that plant get?
I think this one gets to about 20 centimetres, I think.
It grows very slow.
Yeah, most crypts tend to be slow growers as well, so I kind of like that. Not too fast. You see, develop over time,
Less trimming.
and that's a good thing as well. I've got a tank at home, and I've got I'm trimming the stems every week, and it's starting to really get on my nerves now. They're just going crazy. I get up, it's like something off Alien, you know, it's just born, then your next thing it's massive. I used to use crypts all the time. I don't use them so much now, but oh, nice.
So you got one on the other side for you. Sorry? Should I pop over there?
Yeah, please.
Norwegian airs to call for you.
You need to go and see for yourself.
I'm just rattling my brain thinking.
You got some Lilaeopsis.
Oh,
Do you want like a grassy plant?
that's what I was thinking of.
Maybe Blixa, Monica?
Blix. I've never used that. Never.
Maybe it's a bit shorter than what you want.
Lilaeopsis. That's Lilaeopsis might do.
Ja, Lilaeopsis we got, I think.
Oh, we got Lilaeopsis.
Ja, Lilaeopsis brasiliensis or...
But it's a,
I think Blixa grows more like a bush.
it's a rosette, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, but the
So
problem
I
is...
think it grows a little bit taller than the
yeah.
than the Lilia.
Blix, I think for where I want it, Blix I wouldn't really. Nah. We could go with you what?
I don't have it.
Oh right, that's alright.
Blixa? No, we don't, but we have
But you have
Lilaeopsis. we got.
Lilaeopsis brasiliensis. We'll go for that, yeah.
Or the other one, this... yeah,
I like
there's
Brazil.
two types of it.
I like the brasiliensis.
Mm.
You want to go for that, yeah?
How many?
40. I'm going to soak this down. Do you want to have a little break again? Grab a drink with cakes and coffee, you know. Yeah, have 5 minutes, and I'll thingy, give you a bit of a break. Get some fresh air. What do you think so far? Okay from your end?
Yeah.
What about using some grass into the stones?
I want that grass around here, so I was saying we've got some Lilaeopsis brasiliensis now. So I'm going to plant that middleish, spreading out into where the stems are, and that'll be a good guiding point for when you trim your stems, which are going to come from this way. They're going to dome down into the grass plants, so it should look ideal. This is Lilaeopsis brasiliensis, which is a grass type plant. It doesn't grow too tall,
No.
so it's quite a slow grower as well, but it gives a nice effect and it can grow to a full orbit. Is it rosette or a runner plant? I can't remember.
Sorry?
Does it shoot out runners?
Yeah.
I thought it did. So these, do you know, like anyone had bamboo at home when it shoots out runners and it sprouts out in the middle of your lawn? Well, that's what this does, a runner plant. So for all the runners, new planteds come out, and that's how you get the carpeting effect. So it looks like a lawn basically. And it's easy, grows in low light. It just doesn't grow as fast. It looks nice and green. Rotala orange juice. This goes, what colour do you think? It goes quite red actually, but with an orange tinge.
You want those now?
I'll plant these first.
Yeah, okay.
The color depends on the light.
Yeah, and I suppose chihiras, it's strong, but
Red.
not too strong, so we'll probably go like, ideally it'd be nice if it went orange.
Yeah.
Is anyone feeling inspired, going to do an aquascape at home? Or put
Yeah.
off?
I got one. I started at home.
You started? Oh, good.
Yeah, I shall start.
I think the best way is just do the hardscape first, let it sit, you decide what plants you want to use.
Mm.
Have you ever tried to do like a paludarium?
There's something I fancy, but I haven't done one yet, but I probably will soon. Oh, stunning.
Yeah.
You know what paludarium is? There's different types, but it's like grown. You've got the submersed and the immersed, so plants growing above, and they use some like terrestrial plants, even house plants.
Peace lilies and stuff like
Peace
that.
lilies, yeah, they look good. They look fun. But you can cheat if you had an aquarium, leave it a bit. Just put a peace lily at the back of your tank, tall, and some cheese plant. I can't think the name of it. Cheese plant. Yeah,
Orchids.
just put plants behind it so it grows over. Looks like a paludarium. This plant, it's one of my favourites at the minute. It's Hydrocotyle Triparita, and it grows like a weed, but if you keep it under control, it's really good to get that creeping effect. So you can use the nepophyte or you can plant it, What I do as well, if it's in an area, see it's clustered, when you're trimming you just cut the stragglers off, so if it's getting a bit carried away, just cut that off and then keep bunching it up. And once it settles, you just like fist it down, keep it punched down in the cluster, and it's matte and it creates a lovely shape. Do you want us to put it in? Because it is a bit harder work.
Sorry?
Do you want us to put it in? Because it is a bit hard work to maintain.
Yeah, of course put it in.
Let's put it in. Try and ideally creep over.
Jan is doing the maintenance, so
Everything goes.
I'll put it some areas where it can start creeping into the foreground a little bit.
yeah.
Hvor mange timer bruker du til
Not crazy.
holde de tankene? Ikke nå, altså.
Yeah, you've got to be patient with planted aquariums as well, because as you can see they don't look much, but you've got to try and picture it and with patience. What happens is they seem to do nothing, you're doing them the maintenance, you think nothing, and all of a sudden it just starts to like settle and kick in and plant growth comes and you're like, oh, wow, it just looks amazing. But you just, till then you've got to like persevere, because the plants have got to adapt, they're in a new condition, and it just takes them a bit of time.
But what did you call the plant that you had to fist?
Hydrocotyle Triparita.
Triparita.
Yeah, that's,
Ah,
Hydrocotyle.
yeah, you know what, it's one of my favourites at the minute.
so I just need to break it.
Yeah? Too shy? Yeah, it's because it sends off runner stragglers, so the more you cut them off and plant them amongst and keep it compact and just like I say, keep it in place, it does well. I don't mean I punch it physically. This is Bucephlandra kedagang. It's my favourite of the Bucephlandras. It's a really trendy plant at the minute, and it's an epiphyte like Anubias. The difference is it can tolerate more light, so you can put this in a light if you want, but I wouldn't put it too high because it still suffers a little bit and might be prone to a bit algae. But we'll just use it as a bit of a contrast with the green next to the Anubias, so you'll see the difference in colours. Nice little contrast, that's what I tend to do with it. I used to plant it up a lot instead of using moss, but I'm not going to with this with them being such thin branches. I don't think it'll look right. But sometimes on thicker branches, once it settles and the roots hang, it looks really nice. But I'm not going to do that. So sometimes as well, you know, if you've got a small tank, if you get like say Anubias, and you can buy them like that, but you can just attach them to a stone and then drop the stone wherever you want it, and to clean it, or if you want to take it out, you just grab it out. So it's a handy little tip.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Do you ever do that? Do you know when you're counting your fish? Do you know if you've lost some fish? You always count them and you always get a 5. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I got a fish alive, I don't know. I'll never make it past 5 and I'll keep starting again. You'll do it. Wait to get home now, I bet I want to do it.
Is Bucephlandra the one that produces a flower?
Yeah,
Or-
especially kedagang.
Yeah.
Flowers quite quickly. You get like a white flower. It doesn't usually last long. But I'm not one for flowers underwater, but it does look okay, like. But yeah, it's one of the only plants that regularly flowers underwater. Anubias does as well. It looks a bit like a peace lily.
Dry now.
Yeah, dry them out. The look of it, when you first do them, one look a bit tatty, but one's tatty, is that a word? Tatty? They look a bit rubbish, but once it's settling, the teeth of the stone itself, the roots will cling and new leaves develop. It looks like it belongs there, not just stuck on. So it does look a bit rubbish at first. And we are finished. Done.
Wow.
There's your scheme. Thank you very much. Any questions before I go on to how we're going to go ahead with this? Like, look after it. I'm not go on too much. But any questions about the hardscape, the planting itself? Happy with that? Have I explained enough?
Yeah.
Right, so this tank now is just going to get soaked, really soaked, and that'll get covered with cling wrap, and it's going to get filled probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
From the off, set the filter up, get the filter going, get the CO2 going, and the first product I would recommend using it, and it's really good because it really helps new plants along and it lets plants adapt. The way I look at it is if, like, do you know, like a baby formula, baby food, it's like your plants like that so they can only handle so much, so don't like cram them with loads of fertilisers. So this one for stimulating root growth and new buds is Seachem Advance. It's really good, and this is all I use for 2 weeks. As per bottle instructions, just dose daily to the water column for 2 weeks, and it really does help. And it kind of helps with, do you know what I mentioned before about trips melting? Success of doing that, and that's the first thing I do. I set it out and fill it daily per bottle instructions for 2 weeks, and it's really good. And I dose separate. It's each their own, but even if I wasn't sponsored by Seachem, I would continue to use Seachem products. I don't really like using comprehensive all-in-ones. The main reason I think some of them contain, they're not very strong, or they're too strong, or they contain too much phosphorus. And just stuff I've read and learned over the years, and I have witnessed it myself in my own tanks when I used to use all-in-ones containing phosphorus. Phosphorus is pretty much renowned for triggering algae, so I don't dose phosphorus at all. So instead of an all-in-one, so you've got like an all-in-one might contain everything, or you get two separate ones. You've got your trace elements, your micro and your macro, without getting all complicated. But again, the macro has got phosphates in, so I shy away from that and dose everything separate. So 2 weeks the advance, and then after the 2 weeks, I dose daily trace, which is your trace elements, or like copper, cobalt, all them tiny metals. That's your trace element, which is essential for plant growth, and it depletes really quick in a planted aquarium.
Just since you say copper, and many people are going to ask about shrimps.
Copper, yeah.
But it's, of course,
it's very minute amounts of copper which plants need, but it's all products which contain copper from the Seachem range, as well as most manufacturers. The levels of copper won't affect your shrimp, and they'll be fine to use with shrimp. So don't worry about it, as long as you go by the bottle instructions and don't overdose. So you can't go wrong if you, like these, it says dose every other day, but I dose them daily, and I do a large water change every week. During the early stage of the tank, I would recommend for 2 weeks change your water, 50% of water every day for 2 weeks, and then just ease down as the time goes on.
Every day?
Every day. You don't have to. Every other day would suffice, and I've never said suffice in my life. See, there you go. But yeah, it does sort a lot of problems if you keep on top of them heavy water changes at the start. It just sees you getting loads of issues, because you miss one day, then another day goes by, then another day. So it's, if you keep them daily, like I say, it's not an essential, not a must, but I'll highly recommend it. And I've had good experience from doing that regular. As soon as I get lazy on water changes.
Sorry.
Oh, better. Is this better for taking pictures? The light.
What kind of water are you using? Tap water or
Yeah, that's a good point. I use regular tap water and use your dechlorinator, Seachem Prime. Yeah.
It fell down from the
fell down
under the.
Yeah, Seachem Prime. That's what I use, and I've got at home. I've got fairly soft water. Yeah.
What would you do if there's an algae in the aquarium?
Algae. Get down to the root cause, and there's a lot of things. There's the filtration. Have you got enough filtration in the tank, enough circulation where there's no dead spots? Too much circulation in one area, that can cause like BBA, blackbeard algae. Everyone's hates a blackbeard, but you tend to find it's on hardscape, it's in fast flow areas, so just be careful. There's lots of reasons, there's no way around it. But clean your hoses regularly, even though if you've got dark hoses and you can't see it, doesn't mean they're not clogged up. If you think of it as like your heart, you need clean arteries, so keep them nice and clean. And it's the same with those. Any dirt that's in the hoses is going to get in the tank, and that's where algae thrives and loves it. So keep the hoses clean, keep all your equipment clean, keep on top of your pre-filters, your filters, dose appropriately, don't dose too much. Not too much light for too long, depending on what your tank's like. If you've just got like all the plants that are attached to wood and stone, you just want low light levels for 7 to 8 hours a day. Any more you start asking for algae trouble. We're not asking for it, but you will get algae issues. You can use RO water if you're worried about your water. You can use RO water, which I've never done. I don't know much about it in all honesty, but it does help with your tank because you're controlling what your water's like basically. But I live in a soft water area, and most plants like soft water. Not all, but most, and they do okay. If you got hard water, you might have certain problems, apart from the obvious calcium build-up and stuff. But
And that's the main issue in Norway with the calcium build.
Yeah.
Because they put so much in the system.
you can always tell if you got hard water if your kettle's full of stuff. You know you've got hard water. It's fairly soft where I come from. But if you're having issues growing plants and your water is really hard, maybe it is worth going the RO route, reverse osmosis. Ask the guys here in the shop about that because I'm pretty clueless with it, but I know I've heard good benefits from it because like say it'll control your water. So in a nutshell, good maintenance practice, keep your hoses and all your pipework clean, and light levels is important. Some people say I've got loads of algae. How long you got your lights on for? 14 hours a day.
Oh,
No problems. The longer you leave the lights, the more algae issues you get. And like I say, make sure your light levels match your plants. And like I was saying earlier, if you're using CO2 injection, higher levels are needed. If you're using all these your plants that are attached to wood and stone, lower level lights, that's important because if you put one of these on a tank with no CO2 injection and it's all easy plants, you probably will get algae issues because it's a bit too much. But you can control it. That's a good thing. You could knock these down to 50%. If I'm running the tank without CO2 injection, all my lights are set to 50% for around 7 hours a day. I know it was a bit complicated, but there's no straightforward answer for algae. Anything else? Or does that cover it a bit?
That's it.
Cool. Any other questions? Come on. Right, so we're dosing after the 2 weeks, flow shed bands, trace elements and potassium, which are really important in the early stages. So plants need them, and trace elements deplete really quickly, so that's why it's got to replenish all the time. You reset things by doing your water change and you kind of start again. Once your tank's a bit more established, usually a bit further down the line, gets into a month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, you can start to introduce stuff like iron for your red plants because they've settled, they've grown really well and will require more iron. So that's a good thing to add. You can just add that 2 or 3 times a week. And later down the line, which I usually add about 4 to 6 months, I might use nitrogen for certain plants. Good examples I've found lately, I had coral moss, which was pale in colour. It looked really unhealthy. And also, do you know the Hydrocotyle? I use Hydrocotyle, the one I said creeps over. That was looking a bit pale. It was growing well, but it was pale. I started introducing nitrogen twice a week, and 2 weeks later, the plants were just like healthy green colour. So that's why I like to dose separate. You can control what's going in the tank. If there's an issue, you can introduce something, and you know you're not overloading on like phosphorus, for example. So all in ones, some people swear by it, it's just not for me. So that's why I dose separate. It does seem complex, but if you break it down, plants need the trace elements, plants need potassium in the early stages. And like I say, introduce these later. It's always good to have on hand your nitrogen and iron to introduce if need be, if you want the plants to be more growth stimulation, or you want it can make them a bit more red in colour. Yeah.
Do you know if you know the Tropica, the orange bottle, not the specialized, but the
Premium.
Premium, yeah.
do you know if that's comparable to the trace and iron?
It probably is the equivalent of trace. The brownish one is, I think it is just your trace elements, so your micro
But I
elements.
think it also has iron
And that's got a touch iron.
and a little bit of
Yeah,
potassium.
it's kind of comprehensive, but it's just not for me because I don't know. Of the different ones I've tried loads of different products, and there's others I've used, obviously I can't see with Seachem, but Seachem as well is like the equivalent of the other ones I've had success with, if that makes sense. So if I use trace and I've used an equivalent in micro or trace elements, that's been good as well. But when I've used comprehensive, I find not as good growth and I do get more algae issues. That's personally I find that. If you get a little bit of algae here and there, it's normal, it doesn't bother you, that's fine. It's when it becomes troublesome and takes over your tank. It ruins it, spoils it for you, spoils your hobby. So after 3 weeks, introduce your algae crew. Anyone heard of that? An algae crew, algae posse. I use a mono shrimp, horned nerite snails, autosinkless, and if the tank's big enough, Siamese alligator. That's my algae crew of choice. I like horned nerites, they're a lot smaller. They lay eggs, but the eggs don't hatch. And you hardly see them. Where your regular nerite snails, which are great alligators, they have them horrible white eggs which you can't get off the hardscape. But Cleathon snails are horned nerite snails. They're ace. Keeping your rocks clean, they're brilliant.
And they eat the blackberry as well.
I eat the BB as well, but Siamese algae, that's probably the best one for that, but they do get quite big, so.
And people have to remember, change water.
Yeah. Keep your water changed, that's the main thing I say. Good maintenance practices, so once a week. And depending on the size of your tank, obviously, but if you spend a bit of maintenance, and that's basically go in, clean your glass, clean your pre-filters, change 50% of the water, take out any dying, ugly looking leaves, just take them out, get rid, and you should have a pretty much trouble-free tank. My saying is the solution to pollution is dilution. If there's problems, just keep diluting the water. That's what happens in nature, what happens with our bodies. It's like drinking plenty of water dilutes your whole body system, because the planet also like 70% water. If you keep that diluted, you've got better health. Same as the aquarium, constantly replenishing it. Doesn't that sound really fancy? Yeah, that's what I say, like good maintenance in 2 weeks. Like I say, it's a bit of a pain, but if you make things easy for yourself at home, so make easy your water change as easy as possible. I think in the UK it's unheard of. I've got an outside tap in my room, an outside tap to put a hose, and that's attached to a thermostatic valve, so I've got a constant 25-degree temperature, so it just makes life easy. So instead of humping buckets about, try and think what's best for yourself and make water changes more, I wouldn't say enjoyable, but not so much of a chore. If you hate maintenance, and you always will, that's not going to change, but that's probably the aquarium hobby isn't for yourself, unless you can afford to get someone in to do maintenance, great. But main thing is just enjoy it, create a scape that you like, and take pride in it and look after it. It's a good environment for your plants, it's a good environment for your fish, and that's why we're all here, that's why we're in the aquatic game. So, any other questions? I'm trying to think if I've covered everything.
Lightning, how many hours per day?
Lighting, I do 7-8 hours a day, and I do like a control light, so a lot of lights I've got now you can control, so they ramp up slowly and they ramp down. So peak levels in my tanks, they might only have 100% light for 4 hours of the day, the rest of the time it's grading up and it's grading down, but you don't have to do that. But just creep it up if you're worried about lighting being too much. When the tanks are settling in the early stages, have it peaking at 60%, then a couple of weeks knock it up to 70, 80 till you're happy with 100. Obviously the bigger the plants get, the healthier the plants are, they'll demand more light and get away with higher light levels. But in general, just get a light that suits your tank, good colour rendition for the plants, which is a lot of really good plant lights out there, in 7-8 hours a day. I would no more than 8 hours I would do. Personally, I think that's when you start risking the algae issues again. And these ones, like I say, a lot of them are controlled by apps, which is just, I wasn't bothered, you know, I was like, apps, you don't need them. For once you start using app controllable lights, you spoil it and you don't want to go back to anything else. It's like anything, isn't it? But yeah.
When you start with this lightning, would you go for 100%?
I do at home, To be honest, I'll peak at 100, like I say, for roughly 4 or 5 hours, ramp up to 100.
Yeah.
I just think because of the size of the tank, and if you're putting the light towards the back with stems, you might get away with it. But on the safe side, you might want to just want to hit 70-80% for a couple of weeks, and then start ramping the lights up once you get past the early stages after all those water changes. But it's your experience, you know what you're doing with the lights. But I do start at 100.
So long ramp time, and then it doesn't matter for
Yeah, because you're not
for 100% for a
for
couple of
4 hours. Yeah, that's the way I look at it. Although it's peaking at 100, it's not for 7 hours. If you haven't got that option, maybe just do reduce the lighting period. I mean, at one point when I didn't have control of lights, I'd only use lights for 5 hours a day till the plants were well established, and then I'd knock it up to 7. But now the control will.
Yeah, well, those like us 2.5 hour ramp time.
Yeah, you can go up to 2.5 hours. I ramp up 1.5 each end.
Yeah.
In my tanks at home. Yeah, an hour and 30 each way. So what's that giving you? So it's 8 hours, 4 hours,
2.5.
2.5, 3 hours, and then the peak time 4 hours roughly. That's my maths. Just it's hard to say because can be a complex subject, but if you break it down into stages, say right, learn about your lights. It's well worth cluing up. Don't take notice of forums and fish forums. Everyone's got an opinion. Just stick to someone you like. Some good examples there. There's a guy called Geordie Scaper. You heard of him? Pick like someone to follow and don't get caught up in, oh, don't do this. This happened to me. This happened to me. And kind of stick to 1 or 2 people and take their advice because everyone's got an opinion. Fish people as well. If you do something, oh, you shouldn't keep your fish in there and you shouldn't do this. You just clue up a bit and like ask questions. But I hate Facebook forums. They get on my nerves. I've come off them all. People get on my nerves. They just like want to pick any slight fault. I said I was putting my dual aquarium on behind the door, and I knew for a fact everyone's going to say, they're like, oh, your door there, it's going to smash into the glass. I went, I've had a tank there before for 3 years. There's a door stop in the corner. If you look, let's just shut up. They don't answer back. But yeah, just break it down. So lights, how am I going to have my lights? Not crazy power, not massive long hours. Your plants, how is it going to look after my plants? Get rid of any old rubbish growth, allow room for the new growth. Let energy go into that. That's how you're going to look after your plants. Just keep an eye on them, snip away anything bad. You can't keep your rocks clean, you can have a little bit of algae on, doesn't matter. But hopefully Algae Eating Crew does a good job of that. And like I say, your snails are great for keeping stones and rocks clean. Fish, don't go crazy on fish. Don't fish that are too big or messy fish in a plant aquarium. It'll give yourself more issues. You'll need bigger filtration, that sort of thing. Big circulation mainly. So it kind of takes the proportion away as well. If you use big fish that are too big, you kind of lose. You want your tank to look bigger than what it actually is. So that's why you tend to use smaller school fish in planted aquariums. And sticking goldfish in. Stick goldfish in. I love goldfish, but I've never kept them. Yeah, and the main thing, just keep on top of your filters. And if you've got a one with a pre-filter like the was here, great, like I say, make life easier for yourself. So maintenance is going to be easy, not a chore. And you'll enjoy it a lot better, and you've got more time to enjoy your tank instead of messing on, trying to fix problems if you prevented them problems in the first place. Type of thing. You always want to make mistakes, everyone does, things happen. You can set one tank up exactly the same as another, one will do great, one will just be a nightmare. And who knows, it just happens. It's happened to me before, I'm like, what? But yeah, could be the bleach I've put in or something. Nah, just enjoy it, guys, that's the main thing, and hope you're getting something from today, and if you got a little couple of things out of this workshop, that's the idea, so that's great. And if you want any more hints and tips, like I say, you can follow us on YouTube if you want, or follow. The best thing you can do with YouTube is someone you click with, you like watching, because you know, when you watch a video, it's all about personality, isn't it? I watch stuff, random stuff like we do on YouTube, and as soon as someone gets on your nerves, you'll not watch them again. They could be the most intelligent person at that subject, but if they get on your nerves, you're not going to watch them. So stick with your faves. You use a good example, MD. A lot of people relate with MD because he doesn't try to be something he's not. He keeps things simple and he does easier setups. He doesn't overcomplicate his setups. So hats off to him.
He has one motto: whatever works for you, do it.
It is, yeah. Yeah. There's no right or wrong. You've got certain rules you can go by to create a better aquarium. Say the rule of thirds and things like that. It's just to help you along. It doesn't have to be exact.
Secant prime.
Yeah.
Is it true like how little? Like,
It's really strong, yeah. And if you put it in a bucket, even more so, you'd maybe need to put a bit more if you add it into your tank, which I do. I'll put it in my tank afterwards, but if you put it in a bucket, it is per that. Get a syringe. If you use a syringe, it's much easier. Half a mil. It is really strong.
so it's actually as concentrated as
Yes,
says
it is, yeah.
on the-
There's an even more concentrated one if you've got big tanks. Safe.
Safe, secret safe, yeah.
That's just ridiculous and it stinks. It's pure just sulfur.
But so you can actually put the water without the dechlorinator in and then put the dechlorinator in?
I'll put a dechlorant in the tank, yeah. You
Does
just,
like kill all the beneficial bacteria?
no, do you know what your water comes? Do you know what I'm saying about big water changes? All your beneficial bacteria is amongst the hardscape, it's in the substrate, and even on the glass. And it's mainly in your filter. So you're taking very little of the beneficial bacteria in the water column. There's very, very little in there. So a lot of people, that's old school thing, and you see these old fish keepers and that, I don't change water. I change my water once every 4 weeks. I just top it up. But again, it goes down to like the solution to pollution dilution. You're keeping that water well diluted, but don't worry about taking bacteria up because it's all amongst the hardscape and then your bacteria. The more bacteria you put in your filter, but I've lost the word. Biomedia you put in your filter, the better. And it's going to house loads of beneficial bacteria, which helps keep the water not just clean, keeps the water healthy for the fish.
Okay, so it's not like you put water in and everything dies.
No, not at all. I used to do 80% changes sometimes. Doesn't the fish love it? It's just oxygen. Fish are like, oh, give us some more. The only thing you've got to watch for is if the water's too cold, then no, they are. So just be careful that, make sure the temperature's okay. What I say with water as well, it doesn't have to be bang on what you're putting in, as long as you take the chill off. That's the main thing. Unless you're keeping your discus and stuff, obviously you've got to make sure it's at higher temperatures. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about changing too. I used to do large water sheds, but now 50%, usually 50-60% once a week. In past experience, as soon as I go past the 2 week mark missing water changes, crap happens. You think, why did I miss that water change? Obviously 2 weeks is fine. If you go on holiday and stuff and you come back, you can still sort things out, but don't let it go up. Don't think, it looks clean, it's fine, because it happens. You wait one day and you're like, I should have done the water change. So that's my biggest thing. Just try and enjoy your maintenance and keep on top of it. Anything else? I know I'm babbling on, but any other questions? Are you finished? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Finished.
You're done.
Yeah, done.
Well, if that's it, cheers guys, thank you very much. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Photographs signed, £10 each.